Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this lesson, I will cover about different types of bonds where I will discuss what ionic bond is, what covalent bond is, and what is the role of electrons in the bond formation, whether it's ionic or covalent bond. Now before I discuss, let us first understand why bonds are formed. So bonds are formed to achieve stability. And that is one of the biggest reason the atoms are losing or gaining electron. That is done by following the rules of eights. What is rule of eight? Rule of eight meaning that the valence shell, which is the outermost shell of electron, needs to have 8 electrons. So 8 electrons meaning stable molecule. When I say molecule, it means different atoms combine in a specific formula to form a molecule. For example, hydrogen, which exists as H2. That means 2 atoms of hydrogen are combining to form a molecule. There is only one exception to this rule, which is the shell first only has 2 electron capacity. Other than that, other shell starting from 2 to all, it should have 8 electrons. So the bigger picture is bonding is helping those atoms to achieve that stable valence configuration by either losing or gaining the electrons. Now let us understand how the electrons are filled. Let's do certain examples. The first one is nitrogen. The nitrogen atomic number is 7. So shell 1 has 2 electrons and then the shell 2 will be having the remaining electron, which is 5. So therefore, this is the first shell which is having 2 electrons, and then the outermost shell, which is called as valence shell, will have 5 electrons. The next example is sodium. The electronic configuration of sodium is 11, which means that the first shell, which is shell 1, can only have the capacity of 2 electrons. Shell 2 has a capacity of 8 electrons. So out of 11, 2 is used by shell 1. The remaining 9 electrons cannot go into 2 shell because second shell only has a maximum capacity of 8. So we will fill it by 8 and therefore the remaining electron. So if we subtract 11 with 10, the remaining is 1 electron in the outermost shell. So let's just fill in this. This is the central nucleus of this atom. This is 2 electrons in first shell. These are 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 in shell 2 and then 1 electron in the outermost shell. The last example is oxygen. The atomic number of oxygen is 8. So if we fill, the first shell will have 2 electrons and the second shell will have remaining 6 electrons. So if we fill that, this is the shell 1 with 2 electrons and this is a shell with 6 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are the rules for filling up the electrons. Now let us understand how bonding is taking place. So there are 2 types of chemical bonds. The first one is ionic bond. By name suggests ionic bonds are formed which involves ions. Now there are 2 kinds of ions, cation and anion. Cation means it is formed by losing of electrons and anions are formed by gaining the electrons. Let us just understand with a simple example, lithium fluoride. Now the atomic number for lithium is 3. So if we understand the electronic configuration, the shell 1 can only have a capacity of 2 electrons, while the shell 2 will be filled by the remaining one, which is 1 electron. So just don't get confused. These are number of shells, shell first and second, and this is the electron. So this is the first shell having a maximum capacity of 2, and the second shell will have a maximum capacity of 1. So this is a configuration for lithium. Now let us include for fluorine. The atomic number of fluorine is 9. So first shell can have only 2 electrons. So the remaining electrons, if you subtract 2 from 9, you have 7 left. So second shell has a capacity of 8. Because 7 is lower than 8, you can fill all the electrons with that. Now to achieve the octet, which one is easy for lithium? Losing 1 electron or gaining 7 electrons to form 8. Of course, losing 1 electron will make more sense and it will be easier. On the other hand, fluorine, in order to achieve the octet, the rule of 8, it is easier to gain 1 electron rather than losing 7. Therefore, lithium will lose this 1 electron which is gained by fluorine. Because lithium is losing the electron, lithium is losing 1 negative charge, it acquires +1. And fluorine is gaining that negative charge electron, so it will acquire -1, because this means 1 electron is lost and this means that 1 electron is gained. So this is called as anion, and lithium is forming cation. And the bond which is formed between lithium and fluoride is known as ionic bond. So this is how ionic bonds are formed, by losing and gaining. It's a complete transfer of electrons. Now let us understand covalent bonding. So in covalent bonding, what is happening is the bonds are formed by sharing of electrons. So here electrons are shared. What that means is there is no complete transfer. It is just shared between two atoms involved. The simplest example is hydrogen. Now hydrogen atomic number is 1. That means there is only 1 electron present. So what is happening is the other hydrogen atom can share this 1 electron. Therefore, each of this hydrogen will have 2 electrons to complete the shell, the first shell, which has a maximum capacity of 2. So this bond is known as covalent bond, which is happening or taking place by sharing of electrons. The other example is oxygen. So the electronic configuration of oxygen is 2 and 6 because the atomic number is 8. In order to complete the octet, oxygen requires gaining 2 electrons. So what is happening is, I'm just writing the valence electron configuration. What is happening is this oxygen will take 2 electrons, or it will share 2 electrons with the neighboring oxygen atom. And therefore it acquires 8 electrons. Similarly, the second oxygen will acquire the 8 electron. And therefore it forms again another covalent bond. Notice one important thing. This is single covalent bond, which means only 1 electron is shared, and this is a double covalent bond, which means 2 electrons are shared. Similarly, for nitrogen, you have 3 electron bonds because 3 bonds are shared. So now let us understand what polar covalent bond is. Again, covalent bond meaning that sharing of electrons, but in case of polar covalent bond, one of the important points to note is the sharing of electron is not taking place equally. Let's begin with one of the example of hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen again acquires only 1 electron to complete 2 valence electrons, while also chlorine has 7 valence electrons and it needs 1 electron to form an octet. And therefore, as you can see, only 1 electron is shared amongst them, which is fulfilling the rule of 2 for hydrogen and 8 for the chlorine. But one important point to note is that this electron pair which is shared between these two atoms are not equally. What that means is chlorine being highly electronegative, it will attract this shared pair of electron more toward itself, so that this shared pair is moving towards chlorine, and hence the chlorine atom is acquiring partial negative charge, and hydrogen, because the electron is drawn away, it acquires partial positive charge. Why positive? Because it is giving away some of the electron towards chlorine. So because again it's sharing, this is known as polar covalent bond because it acquires polarity. Polarity means separation of charges is happening. But one of the key points to note is again sharing of electron is taking place. But if this polarity, if this transfer of electron is happening, that means instead of sharing, it giving away the electron completely, then it changes into ionic. That's the complete distinction between the ionic and the covalent bond. So that's all for me. This is the last topic. I hope you follow this and thank you for watching. Please do share and subscribe in order to receive the notification of future videos. Thank you.